In this video, I'm going to go over how to program for the deadlift. It's a little different than the other exercises because of all of the muscle mass it uses and all of the motor units that it recruits. So what is going to happen is you're going to do a little less volume because more volume is going to really beat the crap out of you. But I'm just going to go through all the way from the beginning. So if you are doing what you should be doing, which is the starting strength linear progression, you're going to be deadlifting every single session for 3 days a week. And you're going to do a single heavy set of 5, and then the next day you're going to do a heavier set of 5, the next day a heavier set of 5, the next day a heavier set of 5. And you're going to keep doing this till you can't. And one of two things is going to happen. Either your back is going to start rounding because you're not strong enough to accommodate it, and you'll see this when you videotape your workouts, which I highly recommend you do, or you'll feel it and it'll be pretty bad. Or the bar just won't go up, you just won't be able to lift the weight. So we have to do something about that. And by the way, concurrently you should be squatting throughout this entire process, again because you're doing the starting strength linear progression. You should definitely be squatting at the same time. Now, the first thing that we're going to do is we're going to make one of these days lighter. And that is going to give you a little bit of time to recover, and it's going to reduce the stress throughout the week. Now, which day you choose largely doesn't matter. Most people are going to switch off of the deadlift. They're going to have to modify something before the squat, which means that you basically are going to still be squatting heavy every time. And when you go to deadlift, you can basically decide what day you want to do lighter, usually based on your schedule. A lot of people like to do it on Monday. A lot of people like to do it on Wednesday because between Monday and Friday, you're going to have 2 days of recovery anyway. So that's not a bad option. You're just going to decide what you're going to do. But largely, I don't think it makes a huge difference. So let's say we do it here. We're going to make this light. Now, how light is light? 80%. It just depends. And you're still going to do it for a single set of 5. What I recommend you do is you do power cleans. If you do not have the equipment to do power cleans, you're going to do this. But if you do have the ability to do power cleans, because power cleans are inherently lighter than your deadlifts, it's going to accommodate this same thing. So maybe you will deadlift. More likely, if you can, you will power clean 5 sets of 3 for a decent amount of weight. A heavy power clean is still a light pull, and that's why you can get away with that. At a certain point, and there are some other options for this too. If you find that there's a specific reason why you're failing, you can kind of attack that problem on the light day. But for the most part, you don't need to because you're a novice. You just need to be deadlifting a lot or power cleaning, again, if you have the equipment and the propensity to do so. The power cleans are very good. You should be doing them if you can. At a certain point, this will stop working. And so what we're going to do is we are going to alternate and incorporate another light day. So now, instead of a third of your workouts being light day, half of them will be. First Monday, week 1, heavy. Wednesday, light. Friday, heavy. Monday, light. Wednesday, heavy. Friday, light. So you can see what we're doing here is we are stretching out the stress recovery adaptation cycle. Because it used to be every session, it used to be about every 48 to 72 hours. And then it was 2 stress events every week. And now it's 1.5. So we've stretched out the stress recovery adaptation cycle to 5 days, roughly. You know, well, obviously there's weekends, but to 5 days. So again, same thing here. You're going to alternate, and you're going to do the same thing if you do power cleans, heavy deadlift, power clean, heavy deadlift, power clean, and so on. At a certain point, that is going to stop working. So, what do? We stretch out the stress recovery adaptation cycle to accommodate the fact that you can't recover quick enough from the stress that you've imposed on your own body. So one day it's going to be heavy, and personally, I really like the Texas method, especially for basically anyone under the age of 40. I like to start them on the Texas method. It works very well, and you can switch into a 4-day split if it is too stressful right off the bat. But for a lot of people, it works really, really well. So let's say we're going to do that. First day, we'll put heavy on Friday, because I'll explain it. That is going to be one heavy set of 5. But how do we get there? Well, we're going to have a volume day, and we're going to have a light day. So your volume day could be 3 sets of 5 deadlifts. And this is not going to be this heavy. It's going to be what you can kind of think of as medium. So that might be like 85–90%. But what works better, in my opinion, is to do power cleans. Same idea. 5 sets of 3, pretty much as heavy as you can get them without destroying yourself. So these are not together, these are an either or. Again, I think power cleans are better. Wednesday is going to be your light day. So you've done all this stress to yourself. You need to give it a little bit of time to recover, and then you can do the heavy stuff. So a light day might be power snatches, which is a different exercise entirely. It might be light deadlifts. It might be light power cleans, depending. It might be another variant of the deadlift. So not just a regular light deadlift, you might do a snatch grip deadlift, which is an artificially wide deadlift. You might do a deficit deadlift, and all of these exercises are designed or selected for the light day because they're inherently limited. Their weight is inherently limited, which in turn inherently limits the stress that can be imposed. But you can see the general idea. Volume, light, heavy. That's the idea. Again, at a certain point, it's going to stop working. So when you can't do 5s on your intensity day, which is usually the first thing to go, you are going to do a set of 3. And then that's going to stop working. You're going to do a set of 2. And then you're going to do a set of 1. Usually you're going to do 3 sets of 1. And you're going to tail end, we call this tail ending the Texas method by doing a heavy single. And then you have to kind of restart this whole process. So you're going to select a new 5-rep max that is hopefully older than your previous 5-rep max, and you're just going to keep working that way up again. At a certain point, this is going to become harder to recover from, and you need to switch to something else. And I'll stop after this because what we've already talked about here is going to encompass about 2 to 3 years of training. And at that point, you'll already have formed some opinions about what you think needs to be done, and you'll have done more research. This video is mostly for the beginner, but I wanted to cover a good portion. At a certain point, again, this is going to become harder, and so every other week, what I really like to do, but I think works really, really well, is the Bragg pull halting deadlift setup, where 1 week you're going to do halting deadlifts for a set of 8, and then the next week you're going to do a rack pull for a set of 5. There are other ways to set this up too. You can do more volume. You can do 2 sets of 8. You can do 3 sets of 8. You can do 2 sets of 5. You can do 3 sets of 5. This is the starting place. And what a halting deadlift is, if you imagine a deadlift, I might not screw this up. Actually, that's probably a little, yeah. Okay. The halting deadlift starts at the bottom. I'm sure this is a little too small to see, But the halting deadlift is gonna start at the bottom of the deadlift and finish just above the top of the patella. And so you have this range of motion. And the rack pull is going to start just under the tibial tuberosity and finish at the top of the deadlift. So when the deadlift used to encompass this range of motion, we've now split that up into a halting deadlift and a rack pull. And so by splitting those up, we can impose enough stress to get the constituent parts without stressing you so much that you can't recover. So that's the idea. You'll notice that you don't actually deadlift in this phase. That's okay. You don't deadlift here anyway. You can test deadlifts periodically, every 2 months, every 3 months, whatever. At a meet is a really good time to test a deadlift. And you will see that the halting deadlifts have done and the rack pulls have done a very good job of preparing you for that event. And at that point, you are already like 3 years into your training, and you should probably have done so. You should probably do some more research to figure out where you want to go from here. I might cover another video, or might cover another segment of this for more advanced trainees in the future. But for right now, I'm really just trying to cover the novice and the intermediate. A quick note, the way that you're going to modify this, if you're a woman, and you're only going to do this if you notice it becomes a problem. This is the first thing I changed for women when it becomes an issue. Instead of doing a set of 5, this is at the very beginning novice progression. I'm going to have them do 2 sets of 3. Women seem to do better with higher intensity, lower reps. There's a huge explanation of why that is, but I won't get into it too much. But that's a good modification to make if you are finishing deadlifts I would say too early. So if you are not continuing to increase deadlift weight after 2 or 3 weeks, try 3s. You can eke out a lot more progress if you're a woman than a man would. So try that out. I hope that was helpful. If you have any questions, please let me know, and thank you for watching.